do you yet believe in Sri Lanka, given your fantastic experience globally? Um, do you yet feel that we can pull Sri Lanka out of the situation?
Yes, we can. I think Sri Lanka, like I said before, very, very resilient people. This country, Rohanta, has amazing talent. And you actually see the true talent of our people when you go overseas or when you're working overseas. I've worked in many parts of the world. And you see some of these guys, the way they perform, the way they innovate, the things that they do is just phenomenal. I mean, and sometimes you begin to wonder, why couldn't this guy do this in Sri Lanka? Right? Why did he have to go to another country to perform better? It's probably because he was not given the opportunity here. Right? He didn't have the right path to go here, and a lot of things have to change. We can come out of the gutters. At the moment, I think we are at the edge of the gutter. We're not yet in the gutter, but I think even if we fall into the gutter, the only way is up after that. And we have very talented people in this country who can pull it out. Just need the right leaders. I would say if you take our parliament, for example, or the 225, I mean, these are all recycled people I've seen before I left the country. When I came back to the country, it's the same people. Right? So we need some young blood in there. Maybe you need some of your MBA students getting into the parliament and doing some work there. So yeah, we can come out, and it's, I must say, I'm a little bit humbled and see the youth.
In the MBA Diaries, where you will be meeting an expert, just like you have been doing for the past few months, or rather 1 year plus. And as Asia Pacific Institute of Information Technology, known as Apparel Sri Lanka, we are honored to be hosting this session today as well with another veteran in the global corporate world. So especially in a time where all these discussions are held about global challenges and overcoming them, and national challenges and overcoming them as well. So let me warmly welcome all the students from Staffordshire University who are joining us today in the platform. And of course, all our members from partner universities, foreign delegates, and of course, diplomats who are joining us today. Despite all these challenges, a warm welcome to all the guests who are in the platform as well. So while welcoming them, let me share the wishes and the expressions from our chairman of Apparel Sri Lanka, Mr. Bandule Godage. I bring you greetings from our chairman, Mr. Bandule Godage. Apparel inspires love for learning in our students by bringing the network opportunities for them to continue lifelong learning. This effort of webinar series hosted by the leadership, or rather under the leadership of Dr. Rohan Tatukorala, to engage all our students with global platform. And I'm thankful to the speaker today for joining us and spending time, his valuable time, to educate our students, and wish you all the very best, and wish you all the very best for a fruitful session, and hope that I will have this opportunity just like a student again, and expecting all of you to use the maximum out of the opportunity by listening to the speaker and engaging. So that is message from our chairman, Mr. Bandule Godage. With that, let me warmly welcome all of you again and hand it over to Dr. Rohan Tatukorala, Director of Apparel Sri Lanka and the Head of Postgraduate School, to take over the conversation from here. Dr. Rohanta, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kaushali, and it's excellent to have such an eminent speaker with us today. Let me just give a quick view. Born in Sri Lanka, educated in Kenya, in Sri Lanka and Singapore. He's a fellow of the Institute of Managers and Leaders, Australia and New Zealand, associate fellow of the Australian Institute of Management. He holds several other qualifications and industry certificates from Toyota Motor Corporations and General Motors Corporation. career spanning 35 years, embarking in agriculture in 1987. He went on to move on to the financial services industry. And thereafter, he moved in 1999 and worked with some of the world's top brands, such as Toyota in Australia, General Motors Corporation Middle East, Africa, and the Lebanon region, based in the World Trade Center in Dubai, covering 14 countries, which includes UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Egyptian regions. Then he returned to Sri Lanka in 2013 and worked for SoftLogic Holdings PLC as its chief executive officer for their automobile cluster, heading Ford, Daihatsu, and the Kingsdown bus brands. He joined MAS Holdings, one of the top companies in Sri Lanka in 2016, and held several positions as General Manager Special Projects for MAS Fabric Matrix, Director MAS Porton, Director Group Special Projects, and is currently the Chief Executive Officer for MAS Fabric, under whose umbrella comes the iconic MAS Fabric Park, Tulhiria, and Giriulda, Sri Lanka's first and the second privately owned apparel intensive export processing zones. He also sits on the advisory boards of some of the most renowned organizations in Sri Lanka outside of work. Suminda is the motor sports competitor and the current vice president of Automobile Sports SLAS, the governing body of motorsports in Sri Lanka, and the immediate past president of the Sri Lanka Association of Racing Drivers and Riders, which is SLADA. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very, very eminent person. His name is Suminda De Silva, CEO, MAS Fabric Park, who will talk to us about running a company today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rohanta, for that intro. I think I'll be, first and foremost, thank you for having me here, and humbled to be speaking in front of all of you learned people. I think from various backgrounds, I'm not sure where the different backgrounds of all your students, but it's a great pleasure to talk to you. So what I'll do, Dr. Rohanta, is I'll actually share a presentation on what MAS Fabric Park is, so that everybody sort of has an idea. So can you presentation mode? Can you all hear me?
Yes, very clear. Thank you very much, Suminda.
Okay. So MAS Fabric Park, it's all about sustainable industrial revolution, and you'll see that as I explain a few things as we go down this presentation. We have a presence in Tulhiria, the export processing zone, which is Sri Lanka's first apparel intensive privately owned free zone that's owned by MAS, by us. Then we also have a similar but a slightly smaller zone in Giriulda. Then we are also the largest, Sri Lanka's largest multi-site roof-mounted solar power producer. I mean, we have solar power plants all the way from the north of the country to the south, east, west, everywhere. And I'll show you as we go on. Right, so we are predominantly a part of MAS Holdings, and a lot of you might not know. Some of you might know. What MAS actually stands for. A lot of people have asked us what's this MAS name all about? So it's actually the first letter of the three founders, Mahesh, Ajay, and Sharad Amalin, that you see in the picture. So they founded this company in 1987. It's headquartered in Sri Lanka, and we are spread across 17 countries. So it's a true multinational organization, headquartered and born in Sri Lanka, and we got to be proud of that. We have 52 manufacturing facilities across the globe, and we employ over 115,000 people globally, and this keeps growing. In Sri Lanka, we are about 80,000 at the moment, and the rest are employed overseas. So as Fabric Park and as MS Holdings, we are driven by our vision, where we say we see a day when we clothe the world with possibility, and our people and partners realize their dreams, and sustainability, and that's the key word here, is woven into the fabric of our industry. And the purpose is to be change makers and enabling dreams and enriching the fabric of life on our planet. And we at MAS and MS Fabric Park are heavily driven by this purpose. And we always say that, you live your purpose first. And while you live your purpose, making money is a byproduct of that. So we go by that. Just a little bit of history on the Fabric Park. It was built in 1968. Construction started in 68 and finished in 74. It was built by the State Engineering Corporation for the Textile Corporation. And if some of you remember, there was a fabric brand by the name of Tultex, and this is where it started. Then they went on till 1989, and a Korean company by the name of Kabul Lanka acquired the park, and Tultex exited. And Kabul Lanka went on from 89 to 2003, and the company Kabul Lanka had a challenge globally to their organization, and they exit. So basically, they left everything here as is, and they exit the country, and the place was abandoned for many years. So in 2016, MAS acquired this. We basically acquired an abandoned fabric mill from the BOI, and we've taken a 99-year lease from the government, and we brought it to what it is today. So we kept going, and in 2017, with all the trust that was built with the Board of Investment and investors, we were entrusted with our second industrial park in Jirula, which also comes under our management. And so that's the first and the second privately owned industrial zones in Sri Lanka, and there's no more yet. So can we move? So we also, the picture here again of Mahesh, our chairman, and what's important and what drives us again is what you see. This is something that he actually wrote in the visitors book on day one when we bought the park in 2006. You can see at the bottom it says best wishes for 2007. But the key point here is the second paragraph, where he had the vision to set the standard for industrial zones in the country and take our expertise to other corners of the world, which we are doing today. So we have a board consisting of Sheldon Damalian, Sharon Lawrence, Prasanna Jayasekara. So I'm the CEO of the park. Plus we have very very talented and competent set of ex-co-members that we call. So having various divisions within the company. So this is what it is. This is just a statement that I always make. We always say, welcome people to come and explore our ecosystem here. For those of you who have not been to this beautiful and green zone, you should do that. Because each day I come into the park, I get truly humbled at the opportunity that we've been given to live our purpose, to live MA's purpose, and we totally respect nature. It is the people and the communities that we reach in these areas. So we are driven by this, and this is our purpose. So it's very different to what you would see in Katunayaka free zones or what you see in Viagama, because this is Tulhiriya is a wet processing zone. It is the only wet processing zone that has sort of end-to-end cycle from the intake of water to discharge of water, because fabric production needs water to run. So it's not dry processing. It's not It's not a cut and sew business, where like a traditional garment factory here. What we do is we produce fabrics within the park. We print fabrics on fabrics within the park. We knit. We have engineered knit within the park. And as you go on, I'll show you some of the brands that we are sort of producing for. So like I said before, our operations, we have Tulire Girulla, Biagama, we have a very unique operation. It's a thermodynamic sludge drying plant where we collect all the sludge from the park, we dry it, we process it. Then, of course, we also have 19 solar power plants right across the country, starting from Kilinochchi downwards, east, west, south, central, everywhere in the country. And like I said before, we are the biggest in the country in roof mounted solar. Probably also one of the biggest in the Asian region. So this is sort of the Tulire Park. It's set on beautifully landscaped, 165 acres. I think Dr. Rohantha, you just mentioned that you've been here before sometime back. You'd have seen this. It's amazingly green. It has over 1 million square foot of built-up area, and we have created 12,000 jobs within Tulire. And then the second one, it's a much smaller fabric park. It's 43 acres, over 200,000 square foot of built-up area, and 400 plus jobs, and it keeps growing, created in that area. Some of the key divisions we have, like I said, this is a wet processing zone. So hydro and environmental becomes one of the key functions of what we do. We extract water, raw water from the river of 9,000 cubic meters a day. This is treated to WHO World Health Organization standards, and we have a centralized distribution system. We have a central effluent treatment plant. Again, this is the largest in the country. 8,500 cubic meters of treated water is discharged, and it meets all the environmental standards and the global standards. We actually don't meet the standards, but we exceed those standards. We have one of the best accredited laboratories in Sri Lanka. This lab does water testing. We even get cases coming from overseas for legal disputes, because they accept what we do and the results that we give. I spoke about the thermodynamic sludge drying plant in Biagama, where we reduce the large amount of moisture content in sludge to reduce the transport cost. We solar dry it, and then makes this transporting much easier for incineration, either to Tulire or to Insi Cement in Puttlam. We also have a very large compost fertilizer manufacturing facility, and these are all byproducts of what we produce within the park. So we have over 100 metric tons of compost fertilizer. We have a eco brick factory where some of the sludge is converted into eco bricks and paving stones. We have our own wetlands where we use it for polishing water, aquatic plants. These are all bioindicators for water quality. We have a fire hydrant system which is centralized. At the push of a button, we can extinguish any fire around the entire facility. It's all centralized. Then we have a huge power and energy division. We have centralized power distribution, and we are one of the few in the country, other CEB and LECO, that has a power distribution license. We have a 10 megawatt underground distribution system, and another 10 megawatt as a standby system. So this is massive in any terms. For factories that produce of the fabric mills that operate in here, they need steam to run. They need steam to operate. So we produce 30 tons of steam an hour. That's how big the scale of this operation is. We have thermic heat distribution for certain types of fabric machines in the mills. We have massive centralized engineering workshops and biomass processing. Because when we fire up our boilers, we don't use forest wood. Right? Everything that's inside this park is ethically sourced. The only firewood that we use is harvested glyceria and uprooted rubber trees from when they have sort of gone the 20-year life cycle in the plantations, and they uproot them, we take them and we burn them in the boilers. So everything that we do is sustainable and ethical within this park. Then MS Photon division also comes under the fabrics park. Like I said, we are the largest in the country, multi-site roof mounted solar generations. We have a phase 1 that we did, which is 20 megawatts, which is completed. We have another 6 megawatts, which is a work in progress at the moment, and another 7 megawatts in design stage. So this 6 megawatts is actually within Tulheria, and it will be the largest roof-mounted solar installation in the country, because one of the roofs, because there's a plant that has a 10-acre roof. So whole solar system is going onto this roof, and this will make it the single largest in the country. So open invitation to any one of you who would like to come in someday and tour the facility and see the scale of these for yourselves. It'd be good. Then we have another division called the Park Management Division, which produces food and meals. We run 24 hours. This operation is a 24-hour operation. And we have a central kitchen with a capacity of producing 15,000 meals a day. That's again mega scale. It's like a plant or a factory on its own. We have centralized waste collection and segregation. Nothing goes to the dumps. We have our own plantations in Glyceria. We just signed up another 1,000 acres. Then we have our own on-site banking, bank branches, postal services, emergency care, ambulance services, hospitals, everything within the park. So the same division also does a lot of, they handle the logistics, transport, centralized security, monitoring, access control. We have a centralized recruitment center called MS Malima. This actually does not serve only MS Fabric Park, but the entire MS group. It's a dedicated recruitment center. We have our own in-house engineering, construction, and maintenance teams. Go to the next one. We also have, lots of a massive plant nursery to manage such a green property here. We need to have our own plants and our own nurseries with endemic species, types of plants, everything grown in here. We are probably the only industrial zone in the world that has its own analog forest, right? So for those of you who are not sure what an analog forest is, analog forests are forests recreated on previously built up areas, which can be, this model can be replicated anywhere. And it's a part of an international analog forestry network. We have our on-site temples, meditation centers. So there's quite a lot happening. If you see the bottom left, you see a picture with a chopper, with a helicopter, right? I'm not sure if some of you heard the Air Force doing seed bombing. They're taking certain types of endemic plants and seeds and flying them over to areas which are not easily accessible and dropping them. So we are the ones who produce those seeds for them, right? In our nurseries, we coat them. We have a special coating so that bugs don't, go through them, and the germination rates are higher. So there's quite a lot of work happening in this space as well. Then we have another division called MS Athena. It's our learning and development center. It is it was predominantly for MAs, but we also give it out to other corporates, NGOs, organizations, campuses. People come and use this. So we have a 500-seat auditorium. We have conferencing facilities, training rooms, on-site, dorms, rooms, chalets, coffee shops, restaurant facilities, and quite a lot of stuff. We have a sports ground and recreation and leisure facilities. All the sports you can think of is here. And we also did run during the peak of the COVID pandemic, we operated an intermediate care center for COVID patients. And this was not only for MAs, but this was open to the public as well. So in our fabric park in Giriola, we have a center which we opened with 416 beds, where COVID patients got intermediate care, and who had there was a direct link to the Kuliapitiya base hospital, where any emergency cases were taken straight into the ICU. So this was it was not only the beds, but we provided the catering, we the food, the logistics, the building. So this entire COVID center was managed by us. This is an interesting brand. I mean, when we put this, a lot of people ask us, "What are you guys doing with the brand called the 6 Meals?" Right? This is a brand that we started. It was a evolution of a social cause, and this was born during the time of the pandemic. Right? People couldn't, people were restricted within the park. People couldn't go home. They couldn't, they didn't have access to buying food, especially during the first lockdown. People couldn't get the essentials. So what the team did was, because we had the facility, we had the kitchens, we had the staff, we started, cooking up meals and delivering to people and our staff, and made sure that when they leave the fabric park, go home, on their way out they can take a packet of food or whatever for their families. So when the COVID sort of eased out, this by that time this had now evolved into its own little profit center, and we just kept it going. So that's why I say it's an evolution of a social cause, and we call it the 6 Meals. Here your hunger. If you're driving between Amepus and Kurnagala, you will see our buses and trucks also on the road. We have delivery within 15-kilometer radius in the communities. And the truck you see at the bottom left, that's a 1965 East German truck that was there originally when the park was built, because this was actually in 1968. It was funded by the East German government, to build this. This is one of the trucks that they left behind. So on lifestyle, we have, for our employees plus people using our Athena facility, we have a 500-meter jogging track. We have a large, 25-meter pool, separate kids pools. We have 4x4 off-road driving experience tracks. We have forest trails, rock climbing, cricket, basketball, volleyball, kayaking, archery, you name it. And we have it. Bird watching. Recently, I brought in Professor Sarat Kotagama. If you all know, he's the subject matter experts on birds from the University of Colombo. Within a couple of hours, he actually documented over 40 species of birds within this industrial zone. So that's how green it is. And when you walk in, you will never imagine that you're inside the industrial park. Then, of course, we have our finance and strategic planning divisions. They manage all the treasury operations, investments, special projects, investments, both within and outside the industrial zones, and investor relations. So this is sort of the higher team and the EXCO team that we have. We also have on-site BOI services, right? There is the Northwestern Regional Office of the BOI Sri Lanka is located within our industrial zone, headed by a regional, senior director, regional director, and people who operate within this park don't have to go too far to get all their customs work and all the documentation done. So we provide a plug and play kind of operation for fabric related investments within the park. And just some of the stuff we do for the communities. Like I said, we live our purpose, and we support all the schools in the area, the immediate community villages. So so that's sort of living our purpose. So back to you, Kaushali.
Thank you very much, Suminda. Brilliant overview of what it does and how it works. So, as you know, we have about, I think, 450 MBA graduates studying for the master's programs at the Staffordshire University. So a whole heap of questions have come in, which I actually pulled through before you came in, and some very interesting questions have come up, and let me share some of them. So there's a question coming from Dilhani. She's in the construction industry, second year MBA student of Staffordshire. She's saying, what made you enter the apparel industry after having worked across the world in different disciplines? What made you come in?
Interesting question. I think I'm a little bit of an explorer, but I mean, I've worked in various, like you read out at the beginning, I've worked in various industries. I didn't have a real plan to enter the apparel industry, to be very honest with you, because at certain levels, at strategic levels within organizations, the industry really does not matter, right? Your management principles, or how you run an organization, how you manage your people is what matters. Right? So, but I always wanted to work for MAS, and that was one of my dreams. So I really didn't want to enter the apparel industry, but I wanted to work for MAS. So I brought in, I guess I brought in different kinds of expertise into the organization because there were a lot of people who have grown within this industry or started in this apparel industry and fabric industry, and they've grown in this. But I guess in my case, the people who hired me would have seen, a fresh set of eyes coming into the business with a fresh, a different lens, because I was not, I did not have any biases of this, into this industry, the apparel industry. I came predominantly from an automotive background, and I was looking at this from a totally different lens. So, and I think that's worked extremely well.
It's a youngster that got entry, 17 years old, first class honors, top the batch, and first time a person got into a MBA program of Staffordshire University at such a young age, at 17. But she also runs a company, her father's tea company. And she says, how did you start your life, your studies, and your experience? And how was your studies helpful for what you do now as a CEO of one of the top companies in Sri Lanka, like MAS?
Interesting one. Okay, how did I start my life? Actually, I'm born here, born in Sri Lanka, and I left the country with my parents at a very young age. I think I was maybe about 4 or 5 years old. My father was an engineer by profession. Now, there's an interesting fact before that. In 1970, when this Tulhiria was being built by the State Engineering Corporation, the year I was born, my father was one of the engineers that built this. So it's some kind of coincidence that I ended up being the CEO here. In a factory that my father built back in 1970. So we left at a very young age, and I had most of my education, or primary education, in Kenya, in Africa. And then we came back to Sri Lanka. I studied in Sri Lanka for a little bit, then studied in Singapore, back to Sri Lanka again. So I was all over the place. And studies and experience, with all due respect to all the people studying, I was not a very studious person. To be honest with you, Rohanta, I'm not very studious. I had a balance between my studies and also I think my social life. As a bad kid, probably, if you want to call it that way. And it has worked well for me because I've seen a lot of people who are 100% focused only on their studies, right? They forget their social aspect. They forget, how to brand themselves, or they, so it's not only about education. So I would say it's about, being successful, and your experience should be, 50% study, maybe 50% social skills. And this is a big gap I think this country is also facing at the moment. We are very good in academics, right? But I think we can do a little bit better in our social skills, because sometimes, very often you see when people go overseas from Sri Lanka, they're lost, right? They go with a lot of qualifications in hand and saying, I want to, I'm this, I have this qualification, I have that, I have this. But then when you put them into the real scenario, real world, they panic a little bit. So I think you need to have a good balance. And in my case, I think I had a good balance of that, and that has helped me.
Suminda, sorry, I just saw, I was on you, what shall I say? I was stalking you on Facebook. and I was trying to find some details, and I saw the Excellency from the UK visiting MAS Fabric Park about 2 weeks back. What was significant there?
Well, she wanted to have a general look around. She's heard a lot about MS and what we do, and how we live our purpose, and our sustainability stories, and how we reach out to communities. So she was very, very curious. She wanted to know, see firsthand how this all happens. And then, she contacted us and said, want to drop in there for a few hours, take me around, show me what you guys do. How do you live your purpose? Right? And I remember even during that chat telling her, she goes, you guys have spent a lot here on your sustainability initiatives, on the community initiatives. And she goes, how do you guys make money? Right? Because you keep spending a lot on these kind of things. So my answer to that was, again, we live our purpose every day, right? And making money is just a byproduct of that. So I think we are driven by our purpose, and our purpose is not only money.
I mean,
you have to do the right thing by the environment. You have to do the right thing by your people, the right thing by your communities, by your suppliers, and every stakeholder has to be a winner in an organization, right? And that's where success comes in from. It's not one-sided.
I really like what you just now said, Suminda. You once you find what your purpose is, and when you find an organization that marries into your purpose, and then when you really start driving so hard that I suppose money becomes a byproduct. I mean, that's beautiful. I think it's one of the best quotes that I could ever think of. But tell me, what is your honest opinion to a youngster today? Because, when the guy gets up in the morning, all he sees is the negativity on the media. When the guy goes to office, it's tough because there is no current and the dollar has depreciated. And I just saw a news article saying that Sri Lanka is the worst performing currency in the world. So what is your advice to a youngster, Suminda?
Well, challenges will always be there. I mean, this is my thing. I mean, some of the youngsters would have probably seen this for the first time. And in my lifetime, I've seen way worse situations like this. We've been through JVP, insurgencies back in the 80s when, we had a war going on. And, life will go on. And I have operated in, countries which had worse sort of, Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Syria, some of these all, part of my region, which are conflict zones, right? But there's always opportunity. You don't have to, be opportunities and take advantage, of a situation like this. But there is still opportunity for companies doing the right thing to operate in any challenging situation. So don't, to any young person, what I would say is don't get disheartened. There is once you hit the rock bottom. After that, if there's no way to go further down, the only way is up from there, right? And if you're smart enough, you will see the opportunities in the way up from there. So it's not the end of the world. The countries have been through these things. I think even countries like several years ago, if you remember, Greece being in Europe had issues like this. They went through probably worse situation, financial crisis than us. I've been through the global financial crisis in 2008-9. At the time, I was. How can I say? We were in the eye of the storm because I was working for General Motors back then. It's one of the one of the companies that was really caught up in the global financial crisis. But there's always a way out, right? You have to, when you go through challenging times, I guess all you have to do is focus on your basics, right? Do what's right, focus on your basics. Don't try to do anything fancy during challenging periods, right? Do what is required, and you can only focus on what you can control, right? There's absolutely nothing that you can do, people protesting on the streets or whatever, but, all you can do is focus on what you have, direct control of. And that way you can get over any challenge.
Very interesting question coming up, Suminda. The question is, it's coming from a guy called Gayan. He's working for your competitor, Brandix. He's telling you, he's asking you, if you have to advise the hierarchy of Sri Lanka, what would your advice be because of your multi-talented experience working across different countries in troubled markets? What is your advice going to be?
Let the people decide.
That's a good one. I mean, no wonder Mahesh recruited you, Suminda. I mean, you know exactly how to answer the questions. So what are the key challenges you see right now when you're running the company, Suminda?
I think, Rohan, some of the key challenges for any industry that is, say, labor intensive in Sri Lanka now is people, right? Attracting the right talent, retaining the right talent. I mean, these are big challenges you have. As an example, if I give you, if you take from what I've heard, we have about 900,000 buses in Sri Lanka, right?
Okay.
Private buses, CTV buses, whatever. Then there's roughly about 1.5 million tuk-tuks in the country. So if you take 900,000 buses, you take a bus driver and add the bus conductor in, if you take 2 per bus, right, that's 1.8 million people. And then you take 1.5 million tuk-tuks. From our 22 million population, you already hit 15% of our population, right? And this is a very informal sector. In sense, today's a lot of the young kids, what they do is, as soon as they have enough money to pay the deposit on a lease or on a loan to buy a 3-wheeler, a tuk-tuk, they will go and buy it because it's not a, how do I say, it's not regimented. It's not a 9-to-5 job, or it's not a factory job where you have to clock in, clock out. Right, it's very informal. The guy dresses the way he wants, goes, stops at the junction somewhere, has a smoke with his friends. He can go home whatever time he wants. He can decide when he wants to work. If he has made enough money for the day, he can decide to go home. So I think this transport, the passenger transport sector is a huge challenge for our economy, right? And I'm talking about 15%. This is also not leaving aside all the other, Ubers and pick-me drivers and van drivers and all that. If you add a huge portion of our workforce is in working in that sector. It's unregulated, So now for an organization like us, if we need people to work, to open a new plant, I mean it's very challenging to find people and to keep them. So it has slowed down slightly because of these import restrictions on vehicles and stuff like that. But that was a huge issue that we had in the country, not only for apparel, but for I would say for any industry.
So Suminda, how do you kind of practice strategic management at MAS? I mean, I'm sure you must have gone on so many programs across, and one of the subjects that Staffordshire is right now teaching this particular semester is strategic planning. So, but one of the issues that we have is that we cannot practice strategy because the variables keep changing every day. Every day you have to develop a new strategic plan in Sri Lanka. So how do you practice this? Because you operate with global suppliers, and
I think it's very, very simple. I mean, first and foremost, you need to have a proper structure in place. We have proper structures, we have boards, we have executive committees, we have operational committees, we have all that. But in a nutshell, it's all about freedom with accountability, right? Freedom with accountability is the one. I mean, you need to let your people do their job, not try to be like Big Brother looking over their shoulders 24/7. I think that's how you sort of do your strategic management, because strategic management is all about having that mind time, right? To think strategy, right? One of the biggest mistakes, I would say a lot of, not Sri Lankan, but a lot of Asian businesses do is that they try to micromanage their staff, right? Right down from the top to the bottom, they try to micromanage, look over his shoulder, and people are walking around, leaders are walking around, looking for people doing the wrong thing just to whip them. That should not be the case. You should be going around looking for people doing the right thing and make a noise about that. The others will follow, right? So, we are lucky at MAS. We practice this very well. We have a lot of freedom to operate our individual businesses. But of course, like I said, we are accountable at the end of the day. I'm accountable for the P&L of my business. I have the freedom, quite a lot of freedom to do what I want. But at the end of the day, I'm answerable as well. Right? But I don't have somebody just looking over my shoulder 24/7. So I think strategic management is that piece, to think strategy, you need mind space, right? How do you clear that mind space? Stop micromanaging people, right? Free your mind, keep enough, space in your head to plan your strategies.
I mean, fantastic, Suminda. I mean, what I just now heard is something that many books have never ever captured, and it's true. It's when I think of it, the best times I have performed in my workplace has been when nobody comes and tells me what to do, and they allow you the freedom. But of course, as you say, you're responsible for the P&L.
Yep.
A nice question is coming up from Hansani. She's a first-year student of the MBA program, and she's saying, how did your company cope with COVID-19 times, and do you feel that it has moved out of the world, or do you see that there are yet pockets coming up in different places like China? And do you feel that given your global exposure, that we would have seen the end of this virus?
I don't think we'll ever see an end to it. But I think the severity of it has changed. The dynamics of the virus has changed. It did impact. We managed it pretty well. You know, we had COVID-19 task force. We had, you know, people working in biobubbles, you know, transporting people in biobubbles, people operating, you know, shifts in biobubbles. Then we had our own isolation centers, our own, you know, intermediate care centers. So I think we managed it very well. We didn't have a severe impact like most other organizations did. But I don't think it will ever go away. It's like malaria. You know, at one time the malaria was a pandemic in Africa and all these places. People are dying all over the way, but today you don't even worry about it. You know, if you get malaria, go to the injection, get yourself vaccinated or pop some pills and you're fine. So I think it has come to that. We'll have to live with it, right? We'll have to live with it, but it has taught us I think a good lesson. COVID opened everybody's eyes. And you know how you sort of operate in this kind of situations. It was unprecedented. Nobody had seen this kind of. I mean, in my lifetime, I had not seen something like this. But I think now the worst is over, and we can get on with life.
Yep, it's so true. And whenever you go to, especially a restaurant and a nightclub. I mean, the other day I went to Park Street Mews and I didn't see any economic crisis, nor did I see any COVID. You know, nothing was there, guys. And Harp was next to me, and Harp said, I don't see any economic crisis here. Maybe it's some quarters of the community. I
think what's very what's good about our people, the Sri Lankans, is we are a very resilient lot, right? We forget very easily. We forget very quickly, right? You know, the past historical incidences that have happened in the country, I think people have already forgotten. I think we are getting very close to that with COVID-19 as well, because I already see a lot of people walking around with that mask and what COVID, you know. So we are very resilient, so that's good.
Interesting question coming out. We study so much about nation branding and how we need to make sure that we have a positive brand globally, because when you have people like Simon Arnold, who came to one of our programs in the MBA program, he said that, you know, if you have a strong nation brand, it attracts good investment and it drives exports to quality markets. So the question is that, how does global partners perceive Sri Lanka from the reports going out in the recent past? Your view, Suminda.
I think of course, the partners or any business partner in any industry will be concerned at what's going on. I think as MAS, we know we have our partners are more than just traditional partners. We are very strategic partners with everybody that we deal with. You know, we are very transparent on the happenings in the country. So the concerns are there. If this goes on, it can hurt the economy, right? And if you take Apparel, we are the largest contributor of foreign exchange into the country. Just imagine, you know, few partners pulling out, or, you know, we have to relocate this production to elsewhere, other parts of the world. That's definitely going to impact the country. So it's in everybody's best interest that we protect our industries. You know, people have the right to protest. People have, you know, the right to express their feelings. But I think this all has to be done in a peaceful manner, without any, you know, destruction to public or private property. That's when the problem comes in, when people start, you know, running around burning things, burning buses, burning trains, that kind of stuff. Then, you know, we will definitely fall from the frying pan to the fire if that happens. There is concerns. I would say no, but there is concerns, but it's so far manageable.
Change management has come to stay. And how do you practice this at MAS is asked by Manoj. He's also a first year student of the MBA program, Suminda.
Change, how do I practice it? I mean, change is nothing new. I mean, it's something that comes at you every day. New challenges, new stuff. But like I said at the beginning, I mean, if you stay calibrated to your purpose, and I think that's the right word to use. Stay calibrated to your purpose. Positive change will happen automatically. Right? If your intentions are not right in your in your business or in your personal life, if your intentions are not right, you will not get anywhere. So this even change management can't do anything for you. But again, it's staying calibrated to your purpose and also staying close to your basics. That's what matters in change management. A lot of people fear change. I don't personally. If somebody throws me out of that box, out of my comfort zone, I tend to see a lot of opportunities sometimes. And you need to learn how to thrive in those situations. When you're pushed against the wall, you should know how to your exit strategies or what your next move is. I think it's all about that, and the trust and mutual respect, with your teams, very important. Trust and mutual respect.
He's also asking, do you have a mentor and a coach? Because we've studied in the master's programs that top CEOs always has a coach. And we saw the photographs of you of MAs working so much on sports with the kinds of clothes that they manufacture. So do you have a mentor or coach is the question, Suminda?
I would say yes. I mean, one of my board members, some of you might know, Shirendra Lawrence, he works, and I've sort of used him, try to use him as my mentor sometimes, and you need that. I mean, because even sometimes when you, especially when you come into a director role or a CEO role, they say on that pyramid it's very lonely at the top, right? So at the top, and if people don't give you feedback, right, constructive criticism and feedback, you would assume you're doing the right thing, right? And that's the point, you make mistakes. But if you have a mentor or a coach who would pull you in and say, hey buddy, look at it, you're doing the wrong thing, or you can do this differently. I think everybody needs that. However senior you are in a country or organization, you need a mentor and a coach to sort of pull the reins in when you're not on the right track. So very, very important, and it's a good question. And if I didn't have a mentor or a coach, I would have probably been not here, because I would have made a lot of mistakes. We're all humans, we'd have made mistakes. At least there's somebody to pull me in and say, hey, correct this. Or, so I think that's where that mentor piece comes in. Yeah.
So with the one last question, I know sharp 7:30, we have to move on. Do you yet believe in Sri Lanka, given your fantastic experience globally? Do you yet feel that we can pull Sri Lanka out of the situation?
Yes, we can. I think Sri Lanka, like I said before, very, very resilient people. This country, Rohantha, has amazing talent. And you actually see the true talent of our people when you go overseas, or when you're working overseas. I've worked in many, many parts of the world. And you see some of these guys, the way they perform, the way they innovate, the things that they do is just phenomenal. I mean, and sometimes you begin to wonder, why couldn't this guy do this in Sri Lanka? Right? Why did he have to go to another country to perform better? It's probably because he was not given the opportunity here. Right? He didn't have the right path to go here, and a lot of things have to change. We can come out of the gutters. At the moment, I think we are at the edge of the gutter. We're not yet in the gutter, but I think even if we fall into the gutter, the only way is up after that. And we have very, very talented people in this country who can pull it out. Just need the right leaders. I would say if you take our parliament, for example, or the 225, I mean, these are all recycled people I've seen before I left the country. When I came back to the country, it's the same people. Right? So we need some young blood in there. Maybe you need some of your MBA students getting into the parliament and doing some work there. So yeah, we can come out, and it's, I must say, I'm a little bit humbled and see the youth, the new generation standing up and saying, we're not going to deal with this. Right? We need a change. So fortunately, I'm not aligned to any political party. I'm not. I don't go there. But the country needs a change, and that's what people are saying now. So I think it's time that somebody listens to the people, and we need somebody to formulate a plan now. And this is something I say tell people. You can easily throw a leader out, right? But you also need to have a plan B. How are you going to, when you throw somebody out, how are you going, how are you going forward from here? What's the plan? That's where your strategic management comes in, right? You need what the country needs now is immediately what we need is a short-term plan to come out of this crisis, and we need a medium and a long-term plan. A long-term plan is lots of, based on the countries that I've worked in, a long-term plan, there's a lot of things to do, a lot of changes this country has to do, starting from education systems to everything. So yeah, there you go. To answer your question, yes, we can come out of this. I think we have the talent to do it.
Thank you very much, Suminda. It's so lovely to speak to a person who has global experience, because, without that global experience, you sometimes don't see that in every single issue there's always an opportunity. I yet remember when I was working for Reckitt, I was based in Calcutta, and in Calcutta every day you get a power cut of 10 hours. So and when the power cuts happen, all the tram cars stop because tram cars work on power. But then life continued. The economy grew at 6-7%. So I think you're right. When you work in global markets, only you see opportunities that many people don't see. And it's so fantastic to see the kind of vibrancy that you give. I if I'm to pick one thing out of this discussion, there is the point you mentioned about strategic management, where strategic management is about how you give somebody the space to think and do. And I think that's something that even I've not seen it in books. So I'm so proud of you. I've been knowing you for a long time, and I think we were living in the same vicinity. Yeah, we were staying in the same vicinity, and it's so great to see your friends doing so good in life. And I'll definitely come and see you one day. So with the lovely seeing you, and thank you very much. Kaushali, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And indeed, yes, with all these challenges, with all the problems and with all the issues so-called that we have, we will go ahead, and that hope is what we badly need at this point. And thank you so much, Mr. De Silva, for sharing that information, especially for this young generation. As we always say, this is not the knowledge that you can take in a theoretical book. This is each and everyone's experience, and the experience that they share. So with all these things, while I'm again thanking you on behalf of Apit family, a humble invitation, please do drop in with all these challenges. We would love to have you in the, and with that invitation, we would end us. Till then, do take care and good night from Sri Lanka.
Thank you. Thanks, Harry.